So just a little bit on the history of Utah Lake's water quality condition. Utah State University several years ago, working with the Utah Lake Science Panel that I helped manage, conducted a sediment coring study to help reconstruct the history of the lake and see how it's changed over time. This helps us understand what the primary drivers are in the lake and with respect to water quality. And what they found here is that prior to European settlement in the 1890s or so, that we had limited disturbance in the lake, very low nutrient concentrations. We had benthic diatoms that covered most of the lake bottom that helped stabilize the sediments. So the lake was not as turbid as it is today. We had lots of aquatic vegetation growing in the shallow bays and in the shallow shoreline areas, and basically overall a healthy ecosystem structure. Moving from the 1890s to the 1950s, we experienced some significant disturbance that we're able to see in the record here. This is primarily due to the introduction of common carp to the lake. Carp were very effective at disturbing the lake bottom, uprooting the vegetation that helped stabilize the sediments in the lake as they were foraging for food. And so this disturbance kind of basically reorganized the ecosystem, resulting in an increased turbidity and then setting the stage for further water quality impacts into the future from there. And so then as we move from the 1950s to the present, this coring study showed that, around 1950s is when we've really started to see dramatic increases in nutrient concentrations that were resulting from our changes in land use management practices around the lake, and also rapid population growth. And then also around the 1950s, we were able to look at preserved algal pigments in the sediments, and we start to see a pretty significant increase in those pigments that were preserved, indicating that we had increased production of algae and cyanobacteria, harmful algal blooms, as we move from the 1950s to the 2020s. And then, the last factor here that's contributing to all of this, and as a primary driver here, is our rapid population growth. Between 1950s and 2020, Utah County's population went from about 82,000 to 660,000 people, contributing significant stress to the lake, adding more nutrients to the lake, and is one of those factors that will be probably a big stepping stone for lake managers moving forward to address and help manage water quality limitations that we would expect to see from continued population growth in the valley. But not all is lost for Utah Lake. There's a lot of initiatives ongoing currently to address water quality conditions in the lake, several related to ecosystem recovery. We have ongoing carp removal through the June Sucker Recovery Implementation Program and its partners. There's several partners with the Utah Lake Authority and Forestry Fire State Lands working on reestablishment of aquatic vegetation, management of invasive vegetation. All of those things will help improve the ecosystem structure. And then we're seeing significant investments in the water quality arena through non-point source improvement projects, significant investments in wastewater treatment, and then lots and lots of stuff going on with the stormwater in the stormwater area that we'll be talking about. Okay. So first step really in improving water quality on the water quality side of the equation, I guess, is to really figure out where those sources of nutrients are coming from to the lake from the watershed. And so we've done some source investigations. It's rather complex. It comes from a variety of areas. We have municipal and industrial point sources, runoff from agricultural areas, grazing lands, atmospheric deposition, failing septic tanks. The list kind of goes on and on here. And so we're continuing to develop information on where these sources are specifically and how we might address them. And stormwater, as Kelsey was mentioning a couple minutes ago, we have lots of different stormwater connections to the lake. We have runoff from pervious surfaces, irrigation overspray, illicit dumping, construction site runoff, and others. And so during the next session, we hope to, take a little bit deeper dive, get into some specific scenarios here, so some specific projects in Utah Lake watershed in the communities, and just kind of understand what's being done to address some of these.